everybody, and welcome to the Postman Podcast.
Elijah, were you broken there for a second?
No, next one's doing that.
Okay.
I was debating going the all-new. I was like,
It's
should I
not
call it the
all
all-new? The
It's
all-new,
not all
the
new.
new and improved, the best of the best, the supreme.
I don't know that it's any of those.
It's all new. It's just the two-person hosts and just two hosts and
But it's not
two
just
other
two
people.
hosts.
Two people don't come at all.
It's not
ever.
broadcasting. We're not broadcasting.
Someone sends a text message that's so vague that says that they're only available at February 6th, and then all of a sudden they're now free. I don't know. That doesn't explain why until February 6th. Just says it's not free till February 6th. Think he's dead. Got my wife concerned that she had the Rona. Had to convince her you didn't have the Rona. I'm sure it was inventory. I wonder if he's not sitting across from me.
He's not sitting across from me. He's sitting across from me.
I know.
I'm sitting across from Kenn.
I know.
I didn't have the Rona. I'm just really busy with work, and it just so happened that I got off work at a decent time yesterday, and I don't work today. And I was like, oh, I might be able to do the podcasty thing.
I know.
Well,
I know.
but-
Everyone's frightened and doesn't know who that is.
But going forward, probably won't be available again until the 6th.
See, at least now we
You
know
don't have
why.
any days off? They don't give you days off? You're slave-driven?
Pretty much.
Okay. That's awful.
I am
You
consumed.
need to find a new job.
I'm consumed by the inventory.
I find that what I just did was extremely entertaining my brain. I don't know why. I'm done now thinking.
Yep.
But we are here in February for Sexy Stash Month.
Yeah.
This one had two sexy stashes in it, in my opinion.
It did, yes.
I
At
was
least
like,
two. Yes.
I was like, Richard Pryor, your stash I think is better than Eddie Murphy's in this movie.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, and the issue is this is I in my thinkings of this, I refer to Eddie Murphy as the comedy stash, but this isn't really a comedy movie. I mean, it has some funny moments, but it's not. I would not call this movie a comedy, personally.
The amount that I feel comedy is forced into this movie, you can definitely tell that Eddie Murphy wrote it, and he was afraid that people wouldn't come watch it if he wasn't making a comedy. Because he wrote and directed and starred and executive produced this movie.
Right, he's so involved in this movie, he's not even funny.
I kept seeing his name. It was like Eddie Murphy Productions was like one of the production companies too, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, Eddie Murphy went, here's all my Saturday Night Live money. I want to make this movie. And it was shocking how I feel that comedy was forced into it. Even though they have a whole bunch of comedic actors in this movie, like Red Fox and Richard Pryor and himself. It's full of comedic actors. None of them have ever done a gangster film, as I would call this movie.
For the record, the movie is Harlem Nights.
Yeah.
The
Cast list and
plot synopsis.
Plot synopsis.
Cast list. Plot synopsis
Billy Kenn
reads: during the 1930s, a New York City illegal gambling house owner and his associates must deal with strong competition, gangsters, and corrupt cops in order to stay in business.
So it's your standard gangster movie.
It is kind of. It's what's that movie? The Sting?
With Redford?
Yes.
Is it Redford?
And Newman.
Yeah, Newman. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's
Newman.
It's thematically similar. It's thematically similar to that movie.
I haven't watched that movie in years. I'm trying to go back in my brain.
It's been a while since I've seen it as well, but
I thought they had a bigger plan. I thought the plan was more involved in that one than it was in this.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
It was. That's more a caper flick.
Yeah.
This is more a sort of trying to be too many things at once and
falls somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it ends up coming up a little hollow, I think.
We'll get to that in my
we will
problems.
So Eddie Murphy plays Quick. Richard Pryor plays Sugar Ray.
Pryor.
Blah, 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 blah.
Richard Pryor. Red Fox plays Benny Wilson. Danny Aiello plays Phil Cantone. Michael Lerner plays Bugsy Calhoun. Della Reese plays Vera.
She's great.
Yes, she is. Yes. Stan Shaw plays Jack Jenkins. Jasmine Guy plays Dominique LaRue, excuse me. And that's the bulk of the important cast.
I missed when this movie was set.
38.
Okay.
It opens in 1918. I have this written down. It opens in 1918, and Eddie Murphy.
That's a little kid.
Little kid, like 10-year-old.
Because he's 27.
Oh, that's
and
right.
It skips
yeah.
20 years.
So 7-year-old. Right. 7-year-old. Quick shoots a guy in the head.
Yeah. He just straight up shot a guy.
Bam, bam!
Yeah, I mean, like Pryor, who was running the game at the time, was gonna do it. Like he was, or
I don't know if Pryor was probably gonna threaten him.
Right, he probably wouldn't have shot him.
Yeah.
But he went for the gun. Like he was.
Because Pryor doesn't get too violent until the end of the movie, which even he doesn't really even do.
No, and I think that some of that is the relationship dynamic that develops, or that we are to infer develops between Quick and Pryor, where Pryor is the brains and the businessman, and he's the more patient, more temperate one, and Quick is the young hothead muscle.
Mm-hmm. That Sugar Ray took in as a 7-year-old.
Yes.
Let's see.
But the big main thing is Bugsy wants to shut down Sugar Ray's after hours club.
Yes. Yeah. There's
that's the big thing that wants to happen in this movie is Bugsy wants to shut down Sugar Ray's because it's taking money away from his clubs.
Yes.
Because
and it's not, they don't go into, it's not, this is not a business thing. Like, they don't try and do market research and figure out, well, what are they doing that we are not?
No, they just want
what do they have that we don't? It's like, no, we'll just threaten him into oblivion. We'll just make it uncomfortable for him to do business and
make him an offer he cannot refuse.
In short,
similar, yes,
because they have because Bugsy has the cops under his.
Yeah, but Bugsy is the well-established
gangster,
mafia guy. Yeah,
as Richard Pryor calls him.
He's got cops on the take. He's got he owns all the after-hours clubs except for this one. Mm-hmm. But apparently this one is cutting into his business, so he wants to run him out. Mm-hmm. Run him off. It's one of those things that from a real-world practical perspective, either Sugar Ray's would have gone under a long time ago because this would have come to a head before now. Mm-hmm. I.e., they like Sugar Ray or the boss Bugsy would have sent his guys around to lean on Sugar Ray for protection money or for racket or done some kind of racketeering. Mm. And made it really, really uncomfortable for him to stay in business. That would have happened already. Or it would have been, hey, you work for us now. Give us a cut.
I think that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah, well, that's what they were. That would have been the smart thing to do. The problem was
he was really undercut.
They asked for 66%.
Yeah, they wanted. I have it written down. They wanted 10 grand of. They wanted 10 of 15.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that
left 5 for everybody else, and there was a lot of people that was partners in that place.
Right. So it was
like Vera. Vera's great. Everybody should just recognize that Vera's the greatest character in this movie.
She is. We'll get to that too.
Mm-hmm.
But to without further gilding the lily, we're gonna attempt a little bit of a format change. Mm-hmm. Instead of going beat by
Not
beat
spoon-feeding you the movie, people.
through the movie. We're gonna try and keep it brisk. We're gonna hit the high points
And the low points.
and the low points. We're gonna do like a more brief synopsis of the movie, and then we have some talking points to go over, and then
I have no talking points.
And then we're gonna do and Tyler is just
That's
Tyler
the best part, Tyler. Now
has
it makes
just
you
been
have
brought
to
in
have
on
notes.
this on this tonight.
Are you guys making me do
I'm
work
making
now?
we're making you and Lewis have to do one.
At least mental work. There's not a lot of talking points.
Ken, you
get
know
there.
me.
Yeah.
Me and mental work do not go well.
Well, then maybe you should write it down.
It's pretty much just like four main things that we run over.
The lady had boobs. I like those.
Yes, that's just how we fill the half hour. It's just you talking about boobs.
Becca had a penis. I don't like those.
Wasn't that the descriptor I physically used for what Tyler was going to write what he liked about the movie? I physically said that he said that he was going to be like, I like titties. Because I think we were talking about Crash.
We were talking about Crash, and I think you did make that joke, yes. So, what this is, as we have sort of beat around the bush over, this is a gangster movie. We establish, Sugar Ray is the club owner. His club is doing very well. It's very successful. Calhoun is the mobster, and his clubs are not doing as well apparently.
No, it's just they're cutting into his business.
Yeah, but we at one point we cut to when they at the very end after they burn down. Spoiler alert! After they burn down Sugar Ray's club,
Yeah.
they go over and there's 30 people in. Not even 30. There's 20 people in, including employees at the Pitapat Club, which is the crown, the jewel in the crown of.
But they fixed that. They fixed that plot point earlier when we're talking about the fight, because they said everybody's going to be at the fight or paying attention to the fight, so there will be nobody in that place, so we can take it. That's how they were going to take all that money.
Okay, I must have.
Yeah,
missed
that was part of the plan. Was they were going to steal the money from that, and then they were
no, but they weren't stealing the money from the club.
They just burned it down.
Right. And I think that was in retaliation for burning down.
But then,
Sugar
but then what they do to him doesn't make sense if we're burning it down just to show him. I think we were burning him down as a person just to be like goodbye.
The logic in this.
Some
of the logic in this movie doesn't always make sense.
Yes, the movie has a lot of random plot threads that don't work.
But and what we have is ever increasing pressure from a variety of factors, not least of which a cop, Phil Cantone, Sergeant Cantone, who's
he's just
crooked cop who's on Calhoun's take. He's his like chief enforcer type guy.
Just a big old asshole.
He's a jerk. He makes threats and all that. He's sort of the.
Come on, don't you? I like candy. Can I take one of those hearts for my wife?
Yeah. That.
He's the severely underpaid guy too, apparently, which is what you're slowly given throughout the movie. Is he's severely underpaid, as he yells a whole bunch of times. He like these bunch of racist terms, and these people are making more money than him, and that's really driving him nuts.
Yeah, he's upset that and some of it is and before we realize that he's corrupt and working for Calhoun, it's not unreasonable really for him to be upset.
Oh yeah, it's
as a police officer to see these people
stealing money and
doing illegal activities and thriving, and doing so much better than he is.
But then he's making money from Calhoun, from
Bugsy, but we don't
anyway.
At that in that scene we don't know that.
Yeah.
We don't know that he's super corrupt. We haven't learned that yet. You definitely
you hear his name. That's what you
definitely
get in that one scene beforehand. Is you hear his name because he says send Calhoun to go talk to Sugar Ray.
Yeah,
so that's where I was like, okay, this is Calhoun, and Calhoun's a cop now.
And you get the impression that there's something fishy going on, that he's not so upstanding an individual as as he wants to pretend that he is. And there's also what was his name? Smalls, Tommy Smalls, who runs the Pit-a-Pat Club.
And he was stealing. He was quote unquote stealing from him.
Yeah, and that's a thread that we don't ever get fully resolved because we don't know who was actually stealing.
I have a feeling that this movie was changed because
that is possible.
Calhoun is following the car of money, and then he has some really lame excuse that he's just like, "Oh, I figured you all were going to pull something, so I was following the car," and I'm like, I think you were following the car to steal the money because somebody stole money from him. And because the amount that you complain about not being paid well, I feel that you're not being paid well, so you're the one that's been stealing money from Calhoun.
Well, no, because it was somebody was skimming from the operations budget. It wasn't from the take. You can't, like, if it were money that were stolen. Unless he was the bag man.
Yeah, it's hard to... But
unless he was the bag man, which he wasn't realistically the bag man. Unless he was the bag man, he couldn't have been stealing the money. Because it was, hey, we had been making $10,000 a night. Mm-hmm. We're now making $5,000 a night with the same number of people in the building. Mm-hmm. What's going on?
It's another one of those plot threads that just doesn't fall out.
Right. So the implication is that Smalls is skimming money and putting it right in his pocket and declaring that we were only making this much money when he's actually making more money, and that's what they're accusing him of stealing. Yeah. But he feigns it, or he not feigns.
He says that he doesn't do it.
It seems like he's pretty. He seems
he's about to die.
Earnest in being the one that I'm not stealing. So I think that you could maybe read between the lines and think that it was the lady who was taking the money.
It might have been.
But we never know. We never learn officially, formally, who was taking that money. And it doesn't really matter because they blow up the club later. Anyway.
They blow up everything, pretty much.
Oh.
But yeah, I went through most of the main points that I had about the beginning of the movie, so... Then I get to... Bugsy really wants to hire Quick... because Quick is apparent because he believes Quick could be a good gangster. Pretty much is what I got from that to sum it all up.
Yeah, well, I think that he understands that Quick has, he's smart, he's capable, he's loyal. He's stood by Richard. He stood by Sugar Ray for all these years. He can take orders. He's a good little functionary, and he also has he's a hothead. He's quick on the draw. He's capable in a fight. He's a multitasker. He's a good guy he'd be a good one. He'd be a good employee for sure.
I'm going to nominate him for the MVP of gangsters.
Okay.
Quick.
Yep. The Gangster MVP awards.
Gangster MVP, not anybody else.
We'll get through it.
Not 99% of the people from Goodfellas.
We'll get to that later in the season here. We'll go through.
The season.
We find people that we think will be good gangsters. We'll just nominate them.
There we go.
Every month
we nominate a gangster.
At the end of the month, 50 Cent will be the MVP of...
50 Cent.
I can still make music.
It'll be Lil Wayne, who just kind of pardoned from the president. So he's the biggest gangster that I know of so far. He does make. I think he still makes music. I don't think he does much else but makes music.
50 Cent?
Yeah.
He's in movies.
I haven't seen him in a movie in a long time.
Yeah, the last thing I saw him in, he's in the Escape Plan movies.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He is in those Escape Plan movies. I forget that there are 3 of them, and 2 of them didn't do anything or didn't come out.
2
here.
of them were direct to DVD, I think.
except for in China.
Well, yeah, maybe that.
Especially I think the 3rd one did pretty well in China. Because I think it had that. Was it the 3rd or the 2nd one that had that one dude in it?
The 2nd one, probably.
Okay.
I haven't seen the 3rd one, so I don't know. But
The 3rd one's better than the 2nd one. The 2nd one's garbage.
the 2nd one was awful. 2020. He's
on TV?
Yeah, it's music videos.
Oh.
So TV series
He was in Power?
apparently.
Huh. Learned something new today. And the Escape Plan movies.
I like that we went down a 50 Cent rabbit hole.
And Den of Thieves. I forgot about Den of Thieves. That movie is pretty forgetful.
Okay, so
But yeah, then the lady tries to seduce Quick, I think.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they kill
They kill Tommy.
they kill Tommy Smalls for
Because
skimming,
yeah.
and then when Quick refuses the offer, they sick the lady on him.
To have sex and
and-
then kill him.
And she is commissioned to seduce and then shoot him, which he finds the gun under the pillow.
In very Three Stooges-like fashion, she dies.
What?
He finds the gun under the
She
pillow
goes in
and
the bathroom. She goes in the bathroom alone, and he's putting his gun under the pillow to be ready. And then he's checking other pillows and discovers that there's a gun under the other pillow. And he finds the gun. And then he's like, oh, she hides guns under her pillow too. So you don't know if he put it back, just being like, oh, she just wants to defend herself. And then it turns out she wants to kill him. So while on top of him, she just pretty much just like aims out the gun at him.
yeah, well, and there's a couple of times where they're having
playful banter.
It's pillow talk. And she's like reaching under the pillow for the gun, and he keeps grabbing her hand and pulling it back, and grabbing her hand and pulling it back.
Try to get her to not pull the gun on him, to be like, oh, well, that was your last chance, lady.
Right. Well, and it's
I would
you know,
take
and
the hint.
because we know the gun is there, but she doesn't know that he knows the gun is there, but we know that he knows that the gun is there. So
To everyone, I apologize here in the next few seconds. My dog is going to bark.
It's
and
our
my wife will
mascot.
probably enter the house.
He hasn't shown up in so long. Hi, Squirt.
But
but yeah, so he finds the gun.
There's a-
She eventually does get the gun out, points it at his face, pulls the trigger, nothing happens. He pulls the gun off, bang! He pulls his gun out, bang! Shoots her dead. Mm-hmm. And we don't see it because the effects budget didn't exist for that, but
they probably didn't want to shoot her. on
no,
screen.
it's fine. It's not
very-
a big deal.
It's very like that. Like her entire plot thread was pointless. I was just like, get rid of this. I was like, this movie is long now. Get rid of it. I hate this part. I hate it. It's pointless because it does nothing. It's like Freddie Freeman and the money skimming. Because then that eventually goes nowhere, except for a really funny sequence, which is after this sequence where he goes to check on Freddie or Tommy. Tommy Smalls, and then finds Tommy dead, and then Tommy's brother is ironically outside.
Yeah,
And
that's convenient.
it's just convenient plot making, and you think it's going to be something big, and it's not. They go in and find Tommy dead, and they throw a huge fit. Like, Tommy's brother's crying to death.
He's crying played by Arsenio Hall, to the point that he is credited in the movie as Crying Man. Not as
brother.
Mr. Smalls, not as Tommy's brother, as Crying Man.
And then they go on a car chase scene, and it's again Three Stooges like comedy that I think was just injected into it to be funny, and
yeah, it's absurd. Like it's absurdist. It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be funny.
It's supposed to it's not like this is. Like I said, the tone of this movie is kind of a little bit all over the place.
It's weird. It was hard for me to pin down exactly what it was, and I just was like, I'm just going to stick it on gangster movie and call it a day.
Right. So.
Because they end up shooting the passenger by accident.
Right, because they're following him, and he slams on the brakes, and they run into him.
Machine gun goes off and shoots the guy in the front.
Yeah, and Crying Man is who's sitting behind the passenger. The passenger, thankfully, just like holds down the trigger and and the guy in front of him gets killed.
I'm sorry.
And then
they're just crying and apologizing to a dead man.
And then
you made me kill Timmy or whatever his name was.
Yeah, I don't remember. And then Quick is able to hide in a random storefront, and he's hiding behind a brick wall, and they're shooting at him with the two guys have Tommy guns, so they're laying into with the Tommy guns, but he's behind bricks, so he's fine. And then this goes on for longer than it should, and
because they gotta get more gags in there.
Quick eventually goes, well, screw this, and pops up, bang, 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 and then runs, and then hides back again, like barely looking, and then no more shots.
Killed all 3 of them,
and he got all 3 of them. It's.
I was like
you said, it's absurdist. Like I think it's you're supposed to find that funny, but it doesn't quite land. Or you're
it's funny, but if you're gonna do that, be what you're like. Be the rest of the movie that tonally needs to do that, or this needs to serve some purpose besides making. Because this is the second time he was almost killed, so this makes him believe that Bugsy's out to kill him, which he was. But it just is another
But he
thing.
didn't sick these guys on him. These guys are chasing him because it's Small's brother. But we don't. But it is never revealed to Quick, at least as far as we're aware, that this is Small's brother, and he was chasing him because they thought he killed Smalls. Because nobody knows that except for the people that are dead, because that was all self-contained in that car. Nobody outside of that car knows what was going on there. And all those people died.
There's just so much I would have just been like, goodbye. He had a point that I'm gonna get to where I thought this movie was really it was really good. My thing I liked the script, except for when there was just that's my part where I think it stinks and is good at the same time. Is the writing is so there's parts where I think this is a really well written thing, and then we get to something that's so just doesn't need to be there. It's like he took the first draft of his script and walked in, and they were like, "We take it," and they were like, "Oh, you don't want me to make edits? No, you're Eddie Murphy. This is your script. We're doing it," and he just did it, not thinking that I have a plot that we just don't use again. But there's really good points in there that he takes from other movies at the time, and funny things that happen, and characters that are really well written and deliver the dialogue so good that Veer is an example of just somebody that's given great comedic work to work with and is just a great, powerful character. She is a large African-American woman prostitute.
Played by Deley Reese. Well, she's the madam.
She's the madam of the house. But she said, I'll send my girls.
She may or may not it's possible that when she was younger she was a prostitute, but she is the madam. She is responsible for all the call girls,
and she's just great. Everything that happens to her is just great. She fights Quick in the alley because Quick disrespected her. Now she lays Quick down, and that is a great time that we just didn't discuss at the beginning because I just...
it's my favorite scene, so we'll get there.
We'll get there. So I'll just skip that. I'll just skip to...
We're not
doing a very good job of being breezy about this, Elijah.
Oh, sorry. I have 4 more big points. That's about it.
Okay.
I just wanted to talk about the absurdity of that. I figured to
the script!
No, I figured we were including it all in just the package as we kind of go through and just trying to make it flow, but I get it. Okay.
Yeah, see, this is
the problem when we didn't go through this. We talked about other shit beforehand.
This is how we got what we had before. This is what we'll do. All right, let's do it.
No, this is what happens when we talk about other shit beforehand, and we're like, all right, let's record this. And then we're like, oh, fuck, we didn't talk about how we were going to do this.
Right. Well, I just figured this has already been more involved in detail than I was anticipating, but that's fine.
Well, yeah. So the cops shut down Sugar Ray's. They're looking for Quick because he killed the girl.
Right.
So Bugsy burns down Sugar Ray's, and then the fight starts.
Yeah, and what happens is
the
about
big
halfway...
set piece is a big fight between one of their friends and another fighter.
Right. Heavyweight champion of the world, Jack Jenkins. But what happens is when it is made clear to Ray that Calhoun is not happy with his presence in town, like their business is not welcome anymore. Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, we gotta go. Like we're gonna pack up and leave. And before they pack up and leave, they make this plan to steal a bunch of money from Bugsy. And that involves taking the gambling, all the bets, all the gambling money from the fight
and steal it.
And yeah, they're going to steal it. And to do that, they have one of the girls seduce the bagman, and that works out pretty well. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's a switcheroo at the end,
yeah,
or like there's a double. Actually, it's a double triple cross type switcheroo-y thing that's kind of clever, but also not, because you kind of see it.
It involves a point where I was like, okay, this is a little bit shocking. It involved paying cops, which.
Right. Well, see, because
I was
what
not
happens
expecting.
is
I was like, oh,
they stage an accident
mm-hmm.
with the bagman and the call girl in one car, and Vera and Benny in the other car. Mm-hmm. I think Benny was the driver. And then Quick and Ray roll in as play acting as police officers, mm-hmm. but then two who we think are actual police officers, probably on Bugsy's take, show up, and bags are taken and bags are exchanged and yada yada. Like you said, it's switcheroosies. If you watch the movie, you know. If you didn't watch the movie, we're not going to explain it to you. Please go watch the movie.
Yeah. And then it turns out they tricked Calhoun, so they lock him in a abandoned bank safe.
Yeah, that was cool.
Mm-hmm. They tie him up and lock him in there. So, and then we find out that I thought Vera had turned, and she comes to tell Bugsy where he is and all this, and I was like, oh no, this isn't. Vera wouldn't do that. I instantly got relieved because I'm like, they sent the right person into that building. So I went, okay.
She's like, well, yeah, because she's like, I don't want to be involved in this. Like, this has gone too far. This has gone too far. I just want to be left alone. I just want to.
Yeah.
Like, we can't have this. So yeah, I'm gonna tell you where he is. And she sends them to Ray's house. They go to and everybody goes to Ray's house. And Ray's house goes boom.
And then Ray's house explodes. Which I'm like, okay, was this rigged with? I thought it had gas, because when he goes to light the match for his cigar, I thought it was gonna blow up. And I was like, okay, so what is this rigged with? I was like, I know this house is gonna blow. And then I guess one of the doors was rigged.
I don't know.
Because the old man goes, I'm getting out of here. And he grabs the door and goes, no, Johnny. And then flicks the door open and then kaboom, there goes the house. So I was like, was that the kitchen? And maybe he did have the gas in the kitchen? Or I was like, I don't know. The house just spontaneously combusts. And then they get away.
It's unclear why.
That phantom...
But theoretically, if they cut off the head of the...
Claymores did it, Ken.
Maybe.
Claymores did it.
Theoretically, if they were able to... Although I guess they don't know that they killed... They don't know that everybody went to check Sugar Ray's house.
Yeah.
But so they could have conceivably, stayed in town and picked up the pieces.
Or I thought that they were trying to blame the cop had taken the money and ran because they couldn't get a hold of him. That's why they put the cop's stuff in the house. I was like, oh, this is all a giant setup for them to kill the cop, and then pretty much just have the cops versus Bugsy, and they're out. Because I thought they had tricked...
Oh, maybe.
Because I thought they had tricked Bugsy to think the cop had stolen the money because they were trying to get a hold of him. They're like, we can't get a hold of him. And then they find the hat and his badge and his coat, and they're like, huh. So I was like, oh, they're trying to trick him, and then they explode. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a way to do it.
Yeah.
And then they get away with the money.
Right.
And everyone lives happily ever after.
Except for all the employees who are left unemployed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, welcome to corporate America.
Yeah, welcome to gangster corporate America.
I guess.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to run down our favorite scene, our least favorite scene, something that stood out in the movie, and something that really stunk in the movie. And then I have a fun little game that I created. And
Oh no.
then from there, we will go to the Robot Punches, and then we have our latest not latest news. We have topics of news.
Where's the news?
We have
Or things to discuss.
Okay, we have things to discuss. So, Elijah, Tyler, you didn't watch this, did you?
No.
Okay.
Just to throw that out there.
My favorite scene, to get back to the scene that we've already talked about a little bit, was the scene where Vera kicks a poop out of Quick.
So good.
To the tune that she pulls a razor out and he pulls a gun on her. It's like, if you put that thing away, I'm gonna shoot you in the foot. Put that thing away, I'm gonna shoot you in the foot.
I'm going
and she
to
calls
cut
his,
you.
And she calls his bluff and makes him shoot her in the, or she drives him to shoot her in the foot.
Shoots off one of his toes. She doesn't have a toe the rest of the movie.
Yeah, she's walking around with a limp and a cane for the rest of the movie. It's awesome, but like I said, it proves that Vera is this like feisty, delightful.
She takes her hat off, she unbuttons her wig, and she just like, let's do this.
Delightful woman. She is absolutely my favorite character in this movie.
She gets hit with the trash can lid in the face, and she goes, "Gotta use a trash. You're gonna throw trash at me?"
Yeah. and that's when she pulls out the knife.
Yeah. She pulls out a razor. Don't you pull out a razor, Vera. Now we're getting serious, Vera. She's on top of Eddie Murphy just punching him in the face. I'm like, and go Vera. She accused me of stealing. That's my honor. That's my dignity.
Was that your favorite scene as well, Elijah?
No.
Okay.
That was one of my favorite scenes, but I come prepared. I really liked the car. As absurd as the car scene is, just plot wise, I think it's funny.
Oh, the crying man.
The crying man car scene is still really funny.
Okay,
it's just doesn't need to be in the movie. If there was a comedy gangster movie, it would fit so much better, where like everything's comedic instead of
right, or like it's like this movie, like there's too much incompetence for the competent. Like, it seems like if these are the types of people, if this level of incompetence is what Calhoun puts up with, it's no wonder Sugar Ray is able to flourish right under his nose.
Yeah, because
this guy is a wholesale idiot moron, because he's letting guys skim, he's letting random brothers of random gangsters run around and just kill people willy-nilly. That is not something that a good crime boss does. Like, no, if you want to kill somebody, you talk to me first and you get my permission. Then you go kill him.
Yeah. You
don't take it under your own initiative to kill people. That's a good way to get yourself killed, which is what happens here. But yeah, so like it's just weird. Like, it's strange. It's strange.
My least favorite scene in this movie is I really don't like anything that has to do with that other girl in it. Like, so I really hated like the sex scene room.
I agree. That was probably my least favorite
I was
scene
like, this scene doesn't need to be here, because then we shoot her, and then that's it.
Right. Like it felt like, wait, this character had, like, there was something that she brought to this movie. Like, there was there were plot threads that there were things that she could bring to the story that she was now no longer able to bring to the story because they killed her off. I was like, I wanted to know what interesting thing this lady was going to come up with.
Yeah.
Or like, heck,
I thought she was going to turn.
Right. Or heck, I wanted her and Quick to fall in love, and for her to sort of like level Quick out a little bit, and also, bring her business savvy and experience to the team, and be a double agent, and like I said, there was interesting stuff. I mean, granted, it would be sort of cliche and rote, but that's not what that's
this movie
okay.
Has cliches in it.
Right, this movie is not trying to not be cliche, so that would have been acceptable.
And I thought, like, I was sitting there hoping that because she gets shot and we don't see her dead, she was actually still alive.
Right.
So I was like, okay, at the end of this, like, when this whole thing turns and we find out every piece of the puzzle that's supposedly hidden from us, she's going to be the one that's alive and, like, has the bag of money or something at the
right,
end.
yeah, or, yeah, right, you want her, and you want her to come out with the bag over her shoulder, arm in arm with the two cops that rolled up. And it's like, okay, and now we see the grander conspiracy. Now we see what actually happened.
That's how you got the innards of the boss and all that, but that's for a much different movie.
As these, like, weird, like, capery, crimey, you know, who's outsmarting who movies tend to work. But this movie, everything, like, what you see is what you get. Like, they talk about the plan. They execute the plan. The plan goes off pretty much without a hitch. The only hitch we see is the random cops showing up, but as it turns out, that was part of the plan. So, the end.
Yeah.
Or not the end, but so it like, it's there's nothing surprising or
no, there's nothing that shocks.
Or I should say, not anything major that is, oh no, what happened?
This is
because we see them pull the wrong bag from the trunk. It's not the cash bag; it's the supposedly drugs bag. Because, you know, Quick is the one that goes over and pulls it, so we know that he's pulling the bag that's appropriate for the plan, and yada yada yada. So,
but I think we had the same thing that really stood out to us, which was
Deley's. Yeah.
She's stellar.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've already said enough. What I think is falls flat in this movie is, I think, just inconsistencies and plot threads that are missing. That's what I think is just bad in this movie.
Something that we haven't talked about is, like, the uneven performances in this movie.
I think that some of those, like, I think Red Fox pulls a really good job out. I think that Richard Pryor falls a little flat for me.
Well, see,
and Eddie Murphy is trying to be funny and trying to be serious at the same time, and it just doesn't.
My question is, like, how much of that is on purpose, and how much of that is we're trying to be stylistic, we're trying to be stylish, and, like, people, like, like I said, it's stilted, like, they don't, like, stuff doesn't feel natural. It feels a little unnatural. Like, it's I can't. I don't have the vocabulary.
You might have it right, because, like, these are comedic actors trying to do a serious movie, because most of these actors are comedians. So you're like, okay, this movie should be funnier than it is.
But
it isn't.
That's not.
But it's like,
that's not an excuse for weird stilted acting. Like, especially as, like, uniformly stilted as this is. It almost feels like the way that everybody is just a little bit off is on purpose. Okay. Because everybody is off, at least to me, it felt everybody was off, like, the same amount in the same direction. Like, this is definitely not quite reality here. This is definitely a movie. And everybody's sort of breezing through stuff. Like, this is not Ocean's 11. We're not talking about, well, what if this? Well, what if that? Well, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're not troubleshooting at all. It's, here's the plan. Okay, we're going to go with the plan. And the plan go. You know, and so, like I said,
it's not reinventing the wheel. So it's like, it's just so
right. And maybe I don't know. Like I said, I'm just not sure. And because I'm not sure, and because it's all weird, that it stood out to me that the performances, like I said, were all, like I said, in the same direction and the same amount. It felt to me just off, and because of that, I'm like, this was done on purpose, but I don't know why.
Yeah,
and I think that's to your point, where things are uneven, and, like, the it's not funny, but it's not serious either, and it's not super well written, but it's not horribly written either. No. Like, there's just, like, it's
like, I think there might be two good movies in this movie, where there's a good gangster movie and there's a good comedy gangster movie in there. And I think I think Eddie Murphy just he had a good idea, and he was like, I want to make a serious movie, and I'm not, like, this is just me talking out my ass. I think the studio was worried and everybody else was worried, so they were like, can you inject humor into it? And that appeared to be what happened, was they were like, okay, where can we inject humor? Where can we do this?
And because we gave up the crying man to humor, that ends up being like, okay, wait, this guy has become a joke character, so he can't have any significance. Yeah. So we have to write him out here and write him out there.
So it could be a disjointed mess of just other people's ideas. I have no information to back this up, so...
Well, I think that maybe you're onto something, because Eddie Murphy wrote, Eddie Murphy directed, Eddie Murphy starred, Eddie Murphy put up his own money.
Mm-hmm. Eddie Murphy did it.
I think that it is possible that this movie is a pretty high profile, ends up sort of ultimately being a pretty high profile indie film, which wouldn't necessarily have had a whole bunch of studio oversight, so wouldn't necessarily have had, as you said, it's this first draft of the script, like this, the script ends up needing some work, like all of this, just it needs some polish, and it doesn't get it because Eddie Murphy did it all, and it was, I don't want to say it was a vanity project, because it doesn't seem like it was a vanity project, because he's not the hero, he's not like, Sugar Ray is the hero. So, like, I think I think maybe there was a different movie here, or maybe two movies here, and they tried to, I was like, well, I want to make a zany, I have a really serious story I want to tell, and I have a zany thing I want to do, and I want to make them together. Like, maybe I don't know. Like I said, we can sit here and speculate, and until we get to interview Eddie Murphy and ask him about this, I don't know that we're ever gonna know exactly what was going on here. What was?
Well, Eddie Murphy, if you listen to our podcast, we'd like to interview you.
Yeah, if you stumble across us on YouTube. Because you go trolling for your work every once in a while, please, by all means,
just Google search Harlem Nights randomly.
Reach out to us. We would love to have a chat with you. Hey man, shoot for the stars.
The word fuck is used in various variations, are spoken in this movie 133 times.
Yes, well, like
fuck.
in the opening scene, the F-bomb is dropped like literally every like fifth or sixth word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it appears that this movie suffered from a lot of production issues, which is what I've discovered through random little trivia bits that I've discovered.
Okay, so there was a bunch of studio interference.
I think there was studio interference at one point.
Interesting. Okay.
Eddie Murphy apparently once said that he just was like, he wished he had not done everything in the movie so he could focus more into the directing of it.
Okay.
So maybe that could be it too. Like, there's just missed focus at points. So maybe because he was directing it
and starring and also had to worry about money.
Yeah.
He was pulled in too many different. That makes sense.
So I created a little game with dialogue in this movie, which I called Belly Laughs and Booze, which is, I'm going to give you 4 lines, and then you have to decide which one was the belly laugh or the boo at that point. Okay,
wait. So there are four lines of dialogue.
There's 8 lines of dialogue in total.
8 lines of dialogue.
I'm going to tell you that, yeah.
4 are boos and 4s are belly laughs?
No. Just four are... Just one of the 4 is a belly laugh, then 4 is a...
okay.
Yeah, I'm going to give you 4 different sets.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. I was confused, but continue. Okay,
so here's the 4 lines to decide which one I laughed out the most and then rewinded.
Okay.
Did you kill them? No, they just did. Because that was Eddie Murphy as a kid referred to his parents. And I was like, because also, so you shot him. ... How about some ice cream? that was a beat in that movie. Kiss my entire ass. This is what Vera says. Or, I get my mouth ready for orange juice, and then there's just a swallow. You blind motherfucker. Which is Eddie Murphy. Which is
if you're gonna laugh at what you're saying,
I said all of them. I laughed at all of them.
No, you laughed the most at that last one.
Yeah,
I'm.
It's not a hard game to figure out.
I'm still very confused.
Which one did I laugh at the most while watching the movie?
Either Kiss... I want to say it's Kiss My Entire Ass, because... that smacks of Bite My Shiny Metal Ass, which amuses the snot out of me, at least. But I think, really, given your reaction as you were reading them, it was the last one. It was the orange juice line.
I'm gonna go the orange juice line.
Ken had it right with Kiss My Entire Ass.
Yeah.
What? It's not like we're best friends or nothing.
Kiss My Entire Ass got rewound like 4 times because it's just the way she delivered it. Because she walks out the police station, she turns and looks at the policeman and says, "Kiss my entire ass," and then backs up and then walks out the room and then walks to the side. And then it doesn't cut any of it. It just, she's still walking. She's got her cane and she still has that limp, so she's walking with her limp away. And then it just cuts. And then I'm like, what is this? So I rewound it like 4 times. But yes, that entire Red Fox scene with Vera in the house too, that was also a really good scene. I didn't talk about.
That was a funny sequence.
This line made me yell boo. My wife went, "What are you booing?" His dick shrunk up to the size of a cocktail wiener. That was referring to the voodoo lady, which was what Red Fox referred to, the girl that gets shot, so pointless thing. What the hell you think you doing with that little shit is what they were talking about. It was when they were shooting the cars and the guy has this tiny gun and it's a penis joke because it's this really small gun, and then they're going, "You gotta use these big guns," and he says, "What are you gonna think you're gonna do with that little shit?" And I'm like, oh, this is a penis joke in this gunfight. I guess he is under the bed grabbing asses, because that was while he's having sex with the girl, he's like, "Is Calhoun listening to us? Is he under the bed grabbing my ass?" And I'm like, oh, okay. Or "Sweet as sugar" is the last line of dialogue in the movie.
I'm gonna go with "Sweet as sugar" was your boo.
I'm gonna go with the third one as your boo.
I guess he's under the bed grabbing asses?
Yes, that one.
"Sweet as sugar," because that was garbage. Yeah. I'm like, oh, because he's Sugar Ray. Oh, you stupid. It was just...
I'll win.
But yeah, if you like this, how we do this new thing, let us know. Send us emails.
We will try and do better. We'll try and do
better with plots and
less rambly next time.
Yeah,
but
this
who
is the
knows?
first time. We achieved a goal of not being over an hour.
This is true.
With the entirety of the movie, so...
We are at just under an hour, and we are about to robot punch.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do robot punches.
No.
We skipped robot punches.
Yeah. We're about to do that right now.
We need to do robot punches.
Yeah. Ken?
Like 3.
You give much nicer than me. I bet 2.5. And 2 of those stars go to Vera. and some pretty good. Again, I'm just going to repeat myself. So it's what I said earlier. Everything that I just vegged earlier. But Vera saves this movie.
I don't know. Like I said, I think that there's like this is.
If it was just those actors and not her, I would have said everyone was flat but Red Fox. But I just think like everybody was. Because also what I read here was Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy apparently didn't get along on the set, so that could have led to some things where, because they're the 2 main people in this movie, right. So that could have led to why some of their scenes together are just awkward. So
yeah,
but that's why it gets 2.5. Is it's not a bad movie. I'm glad I watched it, but. Am I going to go back to it anytime soon? No. If I have to tell everybody the truth, they should all watch Mr. Church. That is an Eddie Murphy movie that is super great. It is a dramatic role for Eddie Murphy, and he is great in it, and the story's awesome. So
interesting.
It might end up on a list of movies we have to watch. So, because it is so good. I liked that movie.
Okay.
But my only big piece of news. I watched the first 2 episodes of WandaVision.
Oh, how is it? I haven't checked it. I haven't seen it yet.
It is very, they've done such a good job of imitating styles of 2 decades of television so far that you could have put them on during those times, because they make, like, they do beat for beat points from literal episodes of shows.
Okay.
So, but they take it and they put their own, like, sort of spin on it, and then there's hidden just, like, pieces where you can see the universe is crumbling, sort of.
Okay.
And then they're advertising, like, there's just hidden things in it, and it's so good, because they reference Hydra and Strucker, like, because they do a commercial mid-show for various things, like Stark toasters, but they're the only thing in color in this black and white episode is a little red dot that's blinking on the toaster in the first episode, and you're like, okay, why is that blinking? And then the next episode, a radio is crackling, and it's just trying, and then you hear the guy from Ant-Man, the agent from Ant-Man, he's in this, and he's trying to get a hold of Wanda, and he's like, Wanda, what's happening? Wanda.
Agent from...
The bumbling agent from Ant-Man the Wasp.
Park?
Yeah.
I know the Asian guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're
You know who I'm referring to. You can hear him over the radio, but the first one is the Dick Van Dyke Show, and they do an entire episode where the boss is coming over for dinner, and they didn't remember. And it's so fun to go back to the 50s television, and then we went to the 60s with Bewitched, which is also good because Vision gets gum stuck in his gears, and so he's acting
Jimmy
weird.
Woo. Randall Park is his real name. Jimmy Woo.
You could hear him over the radio, and then they show in the background, they show Sokovia, the castle where Wanda was created with Quicksilver, as a mural in the background of something, and you're like, oh, that's the castle, and we're referring to Hydra, and then there's the beekeeper who just randomly pops up, and it hasn't gotten any action-y, it's just weird, and it's great. But Vision gets gum stuck, and then they're doing a town magic show, and Vision keeps using his powers, and Wanda has to keep pretending like he's not using his powers, like, oh, look at the strings. So Wanda keeps, like, magically producing things, like made the piano turn into a piece of cardboard that he was lifting. Because Vision goes, look at the feat of strength, and lifts an entire piano, so she magically turns to the side and turns it into a piece of cardboard.
Okay.
So it's just, because they literally, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so weird. And then I can't wait for them to get to shows where more people know what they are. Like, apparently they're doing a Malcolm in the Middle episode as their 2000s episode.
Interesting.
So I don't know what's next on Friday, but I can't wait. They're great. I highly recommend them. Any other thing? Do you have anything, Tyler, for your...
Nope.
Because you're just here.
I'm just patiently waiting for Square Enix to announce the next disc.
They're not going to. I'm telling you, you're going to wait 2 years.
The Final Fantasy Remake Part 2.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors going around for April.
No, that's when they're going to announce it for the PlayStation 5. They're announcing Final Fantasy Part 1 for the PlayStation 5. That's the estimation I have read.
That's one theory.
Yes. You could be right, but I feel like I'm more. But because I don't even think they've started, because if this ended up being a big giant colossal failure, they probably didn't want to sink all their money in one basket. But they probably have some. But now they have character models and stuff. They might be working on it. But
yeah, like the theory is that because they have, like, the vast majority of the groundwork has been laid. Like, they have the engine, they have character models, they have, gameplay systems, and all that stuff is worked out. It should not take them an obscene amount of time. Although this is Square Enix we're talking about, but it should not take them an obscene amount of time to make Part 2, but I think not an obscene amount of time in Square Enix talk is 2 or 3 years instead of 4 or 5.
Yeah, because it just came out last year, so I'm like, I'm not expecting anything to come out this year for it.
No, it wouldn't surprise me if they announce it.
They might announce it this year.
If they announce, okay, Final Fantasy
I'm not saying they're going to release it then. They're going to be like, hey, they're going to make an announcement that says this is when we're projecting a date of bleh.
Or estimated
Right.
date. Or estimated...
Right.
You might be
Here's
right
the
there.
official
That's
part
what
2.
I'm looking for.
Okay.
Here's the official Part 2 announcement with a hopeful release date of 2022.
Yes.
Or something like that.
In an entertaining part about Final Fantasy, so I bought the old one to play on the PlayStation. I was like, I wonder how long it takes me to get to where the game ends.
5 minutes.
No, it took me 2 hours. And that's me fighting everything in my path. It takes me 2 hours in the original version to get to where the game ends in Final Fantasy VII Remake, which took me 50 hours to make. I was like, ooh. I went, huh. Well, look at that.
As I was playing that, I was like, man, I'm been playing this a while. All right. I was really worried I was going to play this for like 2 hours and be like, this is it?
No, I wasn't worried when we stretched
Disappointment.
When we stretched out the first fight in the train with the train and the first robot battle, how long that was.
Mm-hmm.
I understood why the first I was like, oh, if all the chapters are this, but I was like, wait a minute. The first chapter was the boss was the what the heck is a test demo? Was the demo. And I was like, okay, that's why that chapter was so short. And then we got to everything else, and it just is such a robust game for a part of a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's a whole game.
Yeah.
Like the Final Fantasy VII Part 1 Remake Part 1 is a whole game.
It's a whole set. Yeah.
It's only part of the story.
Yeah.
That's the thing that people were worried about. People were worried that it would be, because it's only part of the story, it's only going to be part of the game. And some of the criticisms that I've heard about that game are that it gets a little bit lost in the weeds. It takes a little bit... Like, it does a good job of bringing to the fore characters that were barely mentioned in the original, but it also gets a little lost in the weeds. It takes its time. It does not... The pacing is not as even as some people maybe wanted it to be.
It does take its time because we're stretching a game out. But if you're paid,
right,
I'm all for, like, okay, I paid this money. I wanted this to be long.
Yeah, like if I'm gonna pay
for
$60 a disc, like I want my 50 hours of gameplay.
Yeah. Sure, absolutely. I'm not. I think that. I think that there's a would it have, you can make a 50-hour game, or you can make a 30-hour game that's just a little bit tighter and a little bit more focused. Mm-hmm. And as far as it goes, I would be just as pleased with a 30-hour game that's tighter and a little more focused as a 50-hour game that feels like it has a generous helping of padding. But
I think
But there again, everybody's numbers on that is gonna be different. Like, some people are like, I'm okay with an extra 15% of padding, but not an extra 30% of padding, or I don't want any extra padding at all.
I've discovered a lot of it was cinematic, because as I skipped the cinematics this time while going through the hard section, I can get through a level quicker than I could because I've skipped.
You're skipping cinematics in the remake?
In the replay, yeah, in the replay.
In the remake, not the original.
No, not the original. There's no cinematics in the original.
Okay. I've now not played either of these games, so I don't.
There's the cinematics in the first one are basic PlayStation 1 cinematics, so it's
okay.
It's that, but I meant like this, like anything that, like 90% of this game is cinematic. It is definitely telling you a story, and you're playing it to have the story. But it is. I was impressed with how they did it, and I liked how we took something and we added to it. Like, I don't think you fight Sephiroth in that fight, and you don't fight Sephiroth I think till mid game, but you don't. Right, but they took a fight and they were like,
we'll
put it in here
in the remake.
Yeah, we'll put something here, and we'll say it's to delay it. That's what we were doing. I liked how we took story plots and we made it like this will delay the future. Like, the future's not set in stone, but this will cause it to not happen as fast.
Right, and from what I understand, that there is enough variation in the story in that first game, or in the first part of the remake, I should say, that some people like we're not necessarily sure where the story's going to go from here. Like it might not go the way that the original game goes.
No, they think they're gonna. I think they're gonna save the girl. I also think they're gonna put in Crisis Core. I think they're gonna take the bits of Crisis Core and they're gonna put it in.
If they make me watch that dude die again, I'm gonna be upset.
They're gonna make you watch Zach die because he's dead. They tell you that in the first game he's dead.
I'm gonna be upset.
They say Zach when she says my boyfriend, he's gone. What was his name? And then she doesn't. She mouths Zach, and Cloud falls down in one of his seizure moments and is done.
Seizure moments.
That's when I go, "What? Cloud's done." But other than that, I just hope that we're able to play as the other characters soon.
We'll get that in the next one.
The big thing is I also have to remember how to get everything in the old game. That was my only problem starting the old game. Was I was like, wait a minute, when do I miss the opportunity to get Vincent and Yuffie? So I was like, oh god, I'm gonna miss them.
Oh yeah, because Yuffie you have to do.
Yuffie and Vincent, you have to do a dialogue.
You have to do dialogue just right to get Yuffie to join. Yeah. Isn't that?
I think so. Yuffie and Vincent, you have to do something right, and then you get them. You don't have to have them in the game.
Right.
I think Kate Sith is another one maybe that you don't have to have in the game.
Yeah, I have to have everybody.
I want Vincent like no one's business. Because Vincent was my backup. It went Cloud, Red 13, and Tifa. So far I can make my team, but my backup, whenever one of them is not there, was Vincent, and then my other backup was Sid. I know I'm going to get Sid, so... Because Sid freaking has the airship that we need. So I know we're going to get Sid, so I'm not worried about that.
But, yeah, I'm thinking April they'll make some type of announcement. They're supposed to make an announcement for 14 with something coming up, and I was telling Elijah about this.
Oh, right, because they're on schedule for 14 expansions, right?
So far, they would be early for another expansion because we just had one.
Expansions or updates or whatever it is.
Yeah,
like
they're on schedule.
They do that on a pretty regular schedule.
Yeah, and like a couple events in the game they didn't do because of events. So like they didn't, but they're on schedule for all the other updates they want to do. And I'm thinking because they keep teasing with the one main bad guy that's supposed to be dead. That there's twice now he's mentioned having a reunion, and through 7 a reunion usually has meant the rebirth of Sephiroth. So I feel like we're gonna have some type of 7 content come into that game for the first time. That's not you can buy a motorcycle and drive it around.
Ugh. There's one thing I could delete from the remake. It's fucking the motorcycle. God damn that thing. Ugh.
Ken, you got anything?
No, I'm working my way through
the world today.
Working my way back to you, babe.
With everything I got. I'm working my way through Jedi Fallen Order.
I saw that.
Which is lots of fun. I forget. I was doing something, and Lauren sometimes watches me play and sometimes doesn't. I try not to play when she's there because I feel like it alienates her sometimes. But yesterday she was talking to her dad on the phone, so I was sitting there with my headphones on playing Jedi Fallen Order, and I walked up on a bunch of, and I'm pretty late in the game now. I have most of the I have all of my Jedi powers.
Ooh.
I don't have all of the skill points built up yet, but I think I have the full complement of powers. I am as powerful generally as I am going to get.
Just like me in Final Fantasy 7.
So, and the last time Lauren watched me play, I had just my lightsaber had just been broken, so I was without lightsaber. I was puzzling my way through Ilum, and so today, or not today, last night I was playing, and and a bunch of stormtroopers came up, and I just mopped the floor with them, and the last one was standing there, and I threw my lightsaber at him, and Lorna was like, "What? What?" I'm like, "Oh, you haven't seen since I got the lightsaber throw?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, "It's awesome."
My wife, whenever I play video games, comes down to every response, and then my favorite's when Tifa's on the screen. And she goes, that's not how women look, you know this. And then I go, of course not. Tifa always looks like that. Tifa's always been the random counterbalance of life, where everyone's like, Tifa shouldn't exist. Tifa's the Barbie doll of video games that just doesn't exist.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a stylistic thing. Like that's. I mean, if you want to talk about things that don't exist, let's talk about Cloud using a sword that's as tall as he is.
That's fine.
And as wide as he is.
My favorite Sephiroth sword that's impractical.
Yeah, all like the rules the rules of
the way Cloud stands.
Physics.
I'm all for how Cloud holds his sword. The way Sephiroth stands and holds his sword, he has it like behind him, and I'm like, you're gonna turn that the wrong way one day. And ow!
the rules of physics and nature in Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
Need not apply. It's fine.
I literally summon a dragon and a Leviathan out. This Leviathan comes out of the ground. It's great. Leviathan's huge in that game.
That's what she said?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is.
So that's what Tifa and Aerith said to Cloud as Barrett just sits there going, what? No love for Barrett? Unleash the Leviathan. I have Fat Chocobo over here. You should play Ken.
I should, but I have
a backlog.
I have platinums to catch up.
One of us will lend you the game when the next one comes out.
Okay.
That would be Tyler, because I would have still platinum this one.
You still want to what?
I want to platinum this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't care about the
trophies. Are you good at pull-ups? Have you done the pull-ups?
I didn't get there yet.
I need you to try and do pull-ups, because if you're good at those, then you're going to do them. I'm good at is it push-ups? Was what Cloud Cloud does chin. Cloud does no. Tifa does squat. Yeah, Cloud does squats. I can do squats. I did all those.
Squat.
There's 3 levels of squats that you have to do. There's 3 levels of pull-ups. I got through 2 of them.
Squat time is it?
Huh?
Is it that time of night?
I got to do squats right here. Don't rush me while I'm trying to get you to convince to come help me with these freaking pull-ups.
I want somebody to acknowledge what I just said, but no one's going to do it. I hate you both.
Yep, you're welcome.
It's squat time of night?
Yes, thank you.
He said that already.
No, I omitted the pun.
Holy squat!
Nope, doesn't work there.
Oh.
I omitted the pun.
Time for me to go squat.
It's
that time to squat.
It's that time to squat.
Squat.
That squat.
Squat. Squat. Squat. Squat. Squat. Squat.
It's the time to go to the website www.thepostermanpodcast.com. Email us at thepostermanpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at thepostermanpod, Instagram the Posterman Podcast, Facebook the Posterman Podcast, Letterboxd the Posterman Pod, YouTube, The Posterman, and we have a Patreon. No more.
Squats that time of night. Squats that time of night.
It squats that time of night. It squats that time of night.
See, that works there.
See y'all next week for what's our next movie?
Well, we haven't discussed.
All right, we haven't discussed, but another sexy stash is coming your way.
Yes, there are more sexy stashes.
It's gonna be my stash.
Happy sexy stash month, everybody.
Yeah.
Eat.